Hello everyone, Lisa Thomas from BNI Melbourne North and the Inner West. I'm the Executive Director and I'm bringing to you today our very first episode of Network Success Northside Notables. So the reason I wanted to do a podcast and highlight our high-performing members is that a lot of the time as business owners, we look outside of ourselves for inspiration and we look to international entrepreneurs and all sorts of different people, but there's actually fantastic local talent. And I really wanted to highlight that and give everybody the opportunity to learn from the businesses that are in the region and, their success stories. So today, I have Hasi with me from Mortgage Choice. He's in our top 5 in the region and has just won a national award for Director of the Year. But Hasi, we really would like to hear about your business. So share with us about how you got into mortgage broking and a little bit about your journey.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me here. And it was a lovely surprise last week to receive the recognition of the award. I have previous job. I was in local government, 13 years, and I'd reached the ceiling in what I was doing. I loved my job. I got to work with the community, work with people in and around Brimbank, and it was a very rewarding job. But COVID came around, and you got time to yourself. You're at home. Things sort of change, and I've always had an ambition to do my own business, especially with I've got 2 brothers, and we've always thrown up our ideas about what we wanted to do. And then we never really pulled the pin. And then I was going to have our first child.
Yes.
And you start to realize, okay, time's starting to really slip away. If I'm ever going to give this a go, I just got to jump into it and do it now, because it's only going to get harder. If we want to continue to build a bigger family, obviously the priorities are going to change. You want security, stability. So at that point, I thought about my job, and even though I loved it, I said, okay, do I really want to do this for the next 5 to 10 years? And I reached the ceiling in what I could do. And it was either step into management, which I didn't want to do, or, look at another option. So a previous manager approached me to join his business, and I was about to go into that, and he was also a mentor to me. So highly respected person I was going to go join. At that point, when I told my brothers about it, one of them, he's very risk adverse. So he was like, okay, well, if you're doing this, then how about I throw this idea out? What do you think about mortgage broking? He's got plenty of experience.
Yes.
15 years with ANZ. And we've been pushing him to go out on his own for a number of years. And he said to me, what if we go into this as a partnership? I've got the technical side. You've got the people side. This thing, I can't do this thing on my own. It's a people's business.
Yeah.
You got to be good with people. You're the person with the networks and people. And I did everything twice. I said, yep, let's do it. Let's jump into it. And for me, I guess the big drawback is I still got to do something very rewarding and work with people to achieve their dreams. Like buying a first home or, getting into something in property is a massive step for people. So, yeah.
That's how you started. And is anybody else in the family, like did your parents have a business or anything like that? No.
So this is something now that, so my youngest brother is a lawyer. He's in personal injury law.
Yes.
My business partner, he was senior management with ANZ. And so he's traveled around the world, setting up teams and whatnot. And now that we're at this level in our careers and point in time, we always say to ourselves, God, if we had one person as a mentor growing up that we could look up to and aspire to, that gave it a go at business.
Yes.
And just guide us through a process, who would know where we would be today? But I'm so glad that we jumped into it. We took the opportunity to try and make something happen, and here we are.
Well, you can be that role model for your kids. You can.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because my parents had small businesses, so we sort of grew up with that, and so it was quite acceptable for us to think, oh, we'll go in for business for ourselves. So my brother had his own business. My sister's always had a side hustle. And, I've had my own business for over 20 years. So, yeah, it's...
such a difference, massive impact. My parents obviously came here as immigrants, and they came here with amazing opportunity. And they are of the old school where they're just so loyal. They stick to a job. It's like you stick to a secure job, you earn a living, build a family, and then your family is your wealth. So it was very different growing up. So we never had that sort of, I guess, exposure to jumping at a risk. They're very risk adverse, right? It was the opposite. Don't get into debt. Don't buy anything you can't afford. That sort of
mentality.
Yeah. And so,
yeah. So what would you say to somebody like yourself that's come from your background? What would you say to them about, and if they're thinking about starting a business, what would be some tips that you would give them?
Be sure to take your time and plan it out. Ensure that you get mentors around you, get people who have done it around you, speak to them. Ensure that you know what you want to do. You've got to have some sort of, passion towards what you want to do. Otherwise, I don't know if the drive is really going to be there. There are some people that can make it work without that, but most important, get around people who have done it and build a strong team around you, build a great support base around you, and then make an informed decision, do some planning, get into it. But at that point, there's never going to be a right time. Yeah. It's one of those things. And if you're trying to line up all your ducks, it's going to take you forever to actually just pull the trigger and do it. You just got to be sure it's what you want to do and just get into it.
Yep. So with your mortgage broking, tell us a little bit about why you obviously love it, and I've heard people give you testimonials, so you're obviously very good at what you do. So what's the things that you really, really like about mortgage broking, and what would you say would be your superpower as, within that industry?
Yeah, great question. Look, I come from a volunteer background, so I spent 7 years in my early 20s, public youth club. And from there, we used to put on activities and put on events to bring the community together and, build just a connection amongst locals who just shared the same values. From that sort of had a huge influence on the person I am today, because it was, if anyone's done volunteering, they know it's a thankless job, but it's so rewarding. What the impact you get to have on other people's lives, that's the reward, right? You're the first there, you're the last to leave. You're probably putting money out of your pocket, but at the end of the day, people, even to today, when they bump into me, they're like, thank you so much for those times, because I've met my life partner now, or it's had this influence on me or this impact on me. So it's just really great to hear that. So for me, I was like, okay, well, this in mortgage broking, especially for first-time buyers, it's probably the biggest decision they can make in their lives, apart from, getting married and a couple of other things. It's one of the biggest decisions that they can make. So having someone like myself and my brother on your side just to help you through that process and guide you step by step, give you the confidence to get through it. That's what I love, because I get to be part of people's dreams and help them achieve a massive goal in their life. So, yeah, and I don't take any of the credit on the technical side. That all comes from my business partner, my brother Arif. He's a whiz at all of that. So he's been an amazing coach to me. And I've had a really good mentor now I'm going through it. So, but you've got to be in it. Like you can't be on the sidelines. You've got to be in it and involved and be willing to challenge yourself, because it's not an easy industry to get into.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though that you like first home buyers, because so many young people, they go to their parents or family members for advice, and sometimes that's not the best advice, is it, Hasi? So you have to sort of negotiate around all of those experiences to make sure that they are on the right track.
There's always that family member, that uncle, that friend, that's, and I don't know what it is, and a lot of people just take that advice, but The best thing you can do is go and speak to a mortgage broker, speak to an expert. A mortgage broker is great because they've got no loyalty to any particular lender. They're there as a mortgage broker. We're guided by what's called best interest duty.
Yep.
The client's best interest is our utmost priority. So we will always present best options suited to their specific scenario. So you need to speak to someone who does it day in, day out so they can guide you through the process, give you that insight and understanding so then you can achieve your goals.
Yeah, no, that's great. Because I know sometimes when I talk to people and they'll be saying things and we're going, oh, I don't know whether that's the best advice. You really need to go and see a mortgage broker. So how many lenders do you work with, Hasi?
We've got over 40 lenders on our panel.
40, that's amazing. So what are some of the success stories that you've had, or is there been some milestones? So I know with mortgage broking, people talk about how much they write each year and it's millions and millions of dollars. But what's a significant success story that you'd like to share with everybody?
I love just the ones that are impactful. Like, for example, it's one that not necessarily massive on a scale, but it had such an impact on these two individuals' lives that it's just something I love talking about. I have a relationship with a couple of real estate agents, yep. And I would go out to house openings for the houses they've got listed for sale. And I would just be there as an expert with mortgages and be there for any people coming through the viewing to ask any questions and puts me in front of people that I can potentially go out and get to a meeting. And just before I got there a little early, and just before we were opening this particular house, the renters were vacating the property, making it available for the viewing. And I just struck a conversation with them, and they were telling me how they felt that they'd never be able to get into a home, they're never going to be able to build a deposit. They see themselves renting forever and just couldn't see any future of owning a home, especially with the prices of property continue to increase in Victoria. And I had a simple conversation with them, asked them a few questions just to find out, what kind of situation they're in. And I said, look, we really need to get to a meeting because I think there's an option for you. So got them to a meeting, and, there's a great scheme on at the moment, first home guarantee scheme, where if you haven't owned a property in Victoria before, you're eligible for a 5% deposit, and the government guarantees are 50%. Essentially, you have your 20% deposit.
Yep.
So this couple were eligible for it. We were able to demonstrate that, they did have enough of a deposit there between paying rent and savings to have that 5% deposit. And they went on to go and buy their home. And it was just incredible to see how they just changed, because it was just something that they thought was so far to reach. Yeah. And we were able to do it. And I just love stories like that.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic you literally changed their lives. Yeah, and it's fantastic that you go out to open houses. That's very dedicated. So good on you.
You've got to do what other people aren't willing to do.
Yeah.
In any sort of industry, getting into business, I wasn't shy to the fact that it's going to be hard work. You're going to have to build up a base, and you've got to be out there in front of people. And what better way than to be at open houses? Sure, a lot of people going through have probably got pre-approvals, but there's going to be an opportunity where people aren't necessarily there, or they might have concerns, and it presents an opportunity for you to be able to strike a relationship and potentially create some work.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, so you're the president of our Caroline Springs chapter. So how has being part of BNI, helped you with your business and, your goals for your family?
I will start with the influence of other professionals and having other personalities and individuals around me. So it's an amazing way to create an incredible support team behind you. There are people in the chapter that inspire me, right? And they probably don't even know it. And so having that break in between the week and going out and being around driven, like-minded business individuals is an amazing way to just get that motivation and pick up to go and do things that you might not necessarily want to do and push yourself even further. You've got access to professionals from all different services and areas. So you've got that kind of advice and people you can lean on at any point in time. I always crack a joke that I can contact the, accountant in our group before I can get in touch with my own accountant.
Yeah.
So, it's these kind of things that really all these 1%ers that add up and just make it an incredible experience. Beyond that, obviously, it's an amazing way to generate referrals. You're creating a room full of ambassadors for you and your business. If you build the credibility in and amongst your peers there, the referrals will come because you build a relationship, you build that rapport, trust comes in, then the referrals will start to come through. But I mean, it's all about reciprocity, which is giver's game.
Yep.
And it's such a powerful value. And if you give without any expectation of gain, those people will always want to try and return the favor. It's just natural to us that people just, if you can help someone out, most people will want to, they'll go way out of the way to try and return that favor for you. And that's, it's come around. It's a work in progress. And it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah. So it's really all about building relationships, really. You build those really strong relationships and then, people will do, to whatever they can to help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So have you got some tips for us or advice for us for some business owners or people, for entrepreneurs or somebody thinking about going into business? Have you got a couple of tips that you can share with everybody?
Yeah. You got to be willing to do what others aren't willing to do.
Yeah, you said that earlier, which I thought was really great.
Yeah, and it's something, for example, me going out to open houses, a lot of people won't be willing to do that because it's time out of your evenings, away from your family, outside of work that you've been working a whole day, and then you're committing more time to open. And sometimes it's fruitless. You're just there. But that's the opportunity. And you have to trust the process. Like if you've got a feeling of joining BNI, or you've gone and you've attended a meeting, you've got to understand that you're signing up for a system, a system that works. Now, if you continue to do the same things and expect different results, it's not going to happen. You've got to trust the process. You've got to believe that this system works, be open-minded to it, let yourself become part of it, do it, and eventually it'll come through. You just got to really trust the process.
And what about Eddie? Have you got any industry trends or anything that you'd like to share with us about lending or mortgage broking or anything like that? I know a lot of people are looking at, making sure that they're reevaluating who they're with and interest rates and things. So I know there's lots of people out there that are finding it tough. So what sort of tips would you give from an industry perspective?
If you haven't engaged a mortgage broker, engage one and at least do yourself a favour by getting a home loan health check. That's the simplest and most effective place to start. It costs you nothing. The mortgage broker will do all the work for you. They will go to your current lender and fight for you to get a better rate. If they can't reduce your interest rate with your current lender, they can look at options for you with other lenders who are going to work harder for you for more competitive rates. And if you can get onto that, I highly recommend moving across and reducing your payments. You've got to be on top of what is your biggest step, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So that's the simplest place to start, and it's accessible to everyone, anyone. And sometimes calling up the lenders, you might not know what to say and how to approach it, to get the most effective, get that conversation to where you want it to go. Leverage the mortgage broker's experience and their channels. They do this for a living and they know how to get the most out of it for you.
So get you to advocate on their behalf.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just to give us an example, how much money have you saved people by doing health checks for them?
Thousands in a year. So if you compare it to, I often say people, as soon as they get a high power bill, they'll be on the internet comparing, electricity power providers and trying to save, at most a couple of $100 a year by doing a homeland health check. And if you can get a better interest rate, reduce your payments, even with your own lender, you don't have to refinance. It's just reprice with your own lender at that time. Imagine the thousands of dollars and how far that can go to. I mean, I've had people that we've saved them thousands of dollars. They've been able to go on that holiday. They didn't know that they could go.
They could go. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Okay. So some of the tips that you shared with us today is, of course, health, get your mortgage and have a health check. But you talked about doing things that other people are prepared to do, going a little bit further, doing that extra mile. And I think sometimes we can all get a little bit impatient, and you talked about trusting the system. So, we're in such an instant society these days. It's great that, you've said that, you've just got to keep doing what you're doing, trust the process. That's fantastic.
I see that so much though. Like I see that so many people come into a BNI and they still want to revert back to what they're doing. No, you've signed up to something. Give it a go. Be open to it.
Yep.
You've got to give your all to this. Just do what is put in front of you. The system's there. You don't need to do anything different, and it will come in time. Because remember, whatever you were doing before might not have been as effective. You joined up to this to grow your business.
Yep.
Right. So give it an opportunity to get to that, and it will come.
Yep. No, that's fantastic. So, what's your favorite business book or podcast that you listen to that you would recommend that everybody has a listen to or a read?
Yeah, I'm smiling because I always quote Simon Sinek in our chapter, Caroline Springs. So he's got an incredible book. I absolutely love it. It's on Audible as well, and I love it. Start with why, Simon Sinek.
Yeah, I think it's important for everybody to understand what's their why, what motivates you. So I love Simon Sinek as well. So Hasi, I'd just like to thank you for coming in today and being on our first podcast. And also I'd like to thank you for being on the regional team here in BNI Melbourne North, and you do fantastic work with everybody, and you are definitely the people person. So your brother got it right.
Thank you so much. No, it's been an amazing journey, and I love being part of the team, and so much more growing to do along the side and the rest of the team. So looking forward to the future.
Okay, thanks for coming.